Hi guys, Cinematic Recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain an American mystery and thriller movie, called Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. The movie is set during the COVID-19 pandemic in May 2020, where most people are working remotely. At that time, Miles Braun, a billionaire and co-founder of the technology company Alpha, sends a similar mystery puzzle box to some of his friends, the governor of Connecticut Claire DeBella, Alpha head scientist Lionel Toussaint, controversial fashion designer Bertie J., and men's rights streamer Duke Cody. Later, the four of them hold a group call to solve various puzzles from the mystery box and eventually find a private invitation inside. Apparently, Miles invites all of them to a murder mystery game at his mansion, the Glass Onion, on his private island in Greece. Meanwhile, one of their friends, Cassandra Brand, also receives the similar mystery box, but was not included in the group call. Instead, she angrily smashes the box rather than solving each of the puzzles to find the invitation. Elsewhere, a famous detective named Benoit Blanc is playing a murder mystery game called Among Us. Soon, he hears a knock on his door and receives the same invitation from an unknown person. A few days later, the invited guests gather at the harbor. Blanc introduces himself to the group, while Bertie's assistant Peg and Duke's girlfriend Whiskey also join them. Meanwhile, Cassandra makes a last-minute arrival as the rest of the group are shocked by her appearance. After boarding the ferry, Lionel informs Blanc that Cassandra actually started Alpha with Miles 10 years ago, but Miles cut her out completely in one legal move. Shortly after that, they finally arrive at the private island, where Miles greets them while playing his guitar. However, he looks really shocked when he sees Cassandra getting off the ferry. Besides them, there is another Miles friend Dearol, who stays on the island simply because he is doing some things and not part of the party. Miles takes them on a short tour around the private island and hands the group their room keys. After that, he calls Blanc to his office, where he questions Blanc's presence as the detective was not originally invited to the murder mystery game. Miles believes that someone must have reset the mystery box and sent it to Blanc. Despite all that, he allows the detective to stay, assuming that another guest invited him as a joke. Sometime later, all of them spend their time at the pool, including Cassandra, whose behavior always looks very cold. As they gather in a room, Miles tells Blanc what he and his company Alpha have done regarding his friend's achievements. Bertie swept the market with her comfy sweatpants, Duke became the first Twitch streamer to hit 1 million followers, Claire became a housewife while shaking up the political sector, and Lionel got permission to start pushing the boundaries of science. Suddenly, Miles gets cut off by Andy, who blows up each of their failures. In other words, Lionel, Claire, Bertie, and Duke are holding on for dear life to Miles' fortune. Afterwards, Blanc overhears Peg confront Miles over a PR statement he wants Bertie to release. He then sees Duke watch Whiskey in bed with Miles. At night, Miles shows off the Mona Lisa, which he has on loan from the Louvre. He rents the famous painting because he will invite world leaders and members of the press to this island to unveil Clear, a hydrogen-based alternative fuel that Alpha will launch in a week. Hearing this, Lionel protests against him as he needs 2 years minimum to test Clear to see if it's safe or even viable, but Miles reveals that the entire Glass Onion is powered by Clear. Over dinner, Miles explains the rules for his murder mystery game. Surprisingly, Blanc just solves the pretend murder mystery immediately. Miles is upset because he spent a lot of money for the event, while Blanc just ruined his game in a matter of minutes. Furthermore, the detective claims he did it on purpose and warns Miles that bringing 7 people, each of whom has a motive to kill him, would be like leaving a loaded gun on a table and turning the lights off, which is obviously a bad idea. At the same time, Cassandra argues with the others and says that all of them have taken her life by covering up the truth, culminating in her leaving the main party room. Just then, Miles and Blanc join the party that goes well at first, until Duke suddenly collapses and dies after drinking something. Lionel attempts to call the medical personnel and police, but they cannot come until low tide in the morning. When Blanc orders them to return to their rooms, Miles notices that Duke had picked up his drink by mistake, indicating that whoever poisoned the drink wanted Miles dead. Blanc also notices that Duke's gun and phone are missing. Not only that, it gets worse when Miles has scheduled the power to go off during his murder mystery game. The panicking group immediately suspects Cassandra of being the killer, so everyone splits up in the chaos. At one point, Blanc finds Cassandra mentioning that they need one last piece of evidence, but an unseen assailant shoots her out of nowhere using Duke's gun. Blanc quickly gathers the rest of the group and announces that he has solved Cassandra's murder. The movie flashes back to when Blanc received the mystery box. It is revealed that he received it from Cassandra's twin sister, Helen. She then tells him that Cassandra actually died a week before the trip, supposedly by suicide. However, Helen believes that her sister was murdered by someone, so she decides to hire the famous detective to investigate her death. Before going further into the case, Helen informs Blanc of the past 10 years before Miles and his group became rich and famous. Apparently, it was Cassandra who introduced Miles to the group. That night, Cassandra had come with the Alpha Company idea on a napkin before partnering with Miles. The company was doing well, until Cassandra halted development of Clear due to safety concerns. As a result, Miles was looking for a way to remove her as CEO. His action was supported by their friends perjuring themselves by testifying that he had single-handedly sketched out the plan for Alpha years ago on a napkin. However, Cassandra finally rediscovered the original napkin where she had written out the idea. She then tucked the napkin into a red envelope and emailed a photo of the evidence to the group, which was found by Helen days after her death. With all of this information, Helen suspects that someone in the group killed Cassandra to avoid being discredited and to gain favor with Miles. As the news of Cassandra's death has not yet been made public, Blanc proposes that Helen pose as her twin sister at Miles' party, helping him investigate. On the private island, Helen helps Blanc discover motives for each member of the group to protect Miles from Cassandra. Helen overhears a conversation between Lionel and Claire that they have already staked their reputations on Clear. She also learns that Miles is financially rescuing Birdie from the fallout of employing child labor, and Duke is using whiskey to seduce Miles in exchange for a role at Alpha News. At one time, Claire and Duke tell Helen that neither of them emailed back because they chose to call Cassandra multiple times, but her phone was off. Because of that, Duke, Claire, Lionel, and Birdie visited Cassandra's home on the day of her death. After the murder mystery game, it turns out that Helen purposely disrupts the party so she can search the guest rooms for the red envelope. When she is shot, Cassandra's journal in her jacket pocket stops the bullet. However, Blanc asks her to play dead after dousing her with hot sauce and then tells the other guests she was killed, which creates an opportunity for Helen to finish the search in Miles' office. Back to the present, Blanc reveals his deduction that Miles was responsible for both murders, while Helen finally locates the red envelope in Miles' office. Miles killed Cassandra after learning she had the napkin, but Duke saw Miles' car leaving her house. When news of Cassandra's death was finally released in the media during the party, Duke realized that Miles was responsible and attempted to blackmail him in order to get on Alpha News. This prompted Miles to poison him, exploiting his allergy to pineapple, and intentionally handed Duke his drink. Afterwards, Miles stole Duke's phone and silenced the Google alerts to keep the others from learning about Andy's death. Additionally, Miles got a chance to snatch Duke's pistol, with which he would shoot Helen. Blanc claims that Miles was dumb as he literally stole his hypothetical scenario of leaving a loaded gun on a table and then turning off the lights. Helen reveals that now she has the original napkin to take Miles down, but he manages to burn the napkin, eliminating the only evidence against him. At that point, Blanc claims that there is nothing he can do before leaving the room. In cathartic anger, Helen destroys Miles' glass sculptures with the rest of them finally joining in. In addition, Helen lights a bonfire and throws Clear into it, which was given by Blanc earlier. This causes an explosion that destroys the glass onion. As Blanc and Dirol watch on from the beach, Helen makes her way to the Mona Lisa and exposes it to the fire, eventually destroying it. Realizing destroying the painting will reveal that Clear is dangerous and could ruin Miles' fortune, all of his friends decide to testify against him for his crimes. The movie ends with Helen winning, while she and Blanc are on the beach watching the police boats arrive. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.